If you have an accent wall in your home right now, I want you to stay with me through this entire video before you get defensive, because what I am about to say is going to feel controversial, and by the end, it is going to feel obvious. The accent wall, that one darker, bolder feature wall that interior design content has been recommending to Americans as the easiest way to add personality to a room for the better part of 15 years, and was over. Not trending down, not falling out of fashion in certain circles. Over in the way that a design choice becomes a signal of a specific era rather than a timeless move. And the reason it happened and what has replaced it tells you something genuinely interesting about how design taste shifts and why the logic behind the accent wall was always slightly more complicated than the advice made it sound. But here's the thing I want you to hold on to while we get into this. The accent wall did not become ubiquitous because designers were wrong. It became ubiquitous because it solved a real problem in a relatively accessible way. Understanding why it worked and why it now signals something different from what it used to signal is actually the most useful thing in this video. So let us start there, with the problem the accent wall was trying to solve, because that context is what makes everything else make sense. The accent wall emerged as a mainstream recommendation during a specific moment in American home design culture, roughly the mid-2000s through the early 2020s, when a couple of things were happening simultaneously. Paint companies were producing increasingly sophisticated color ranges, and Americans were paying more attention to interior design as a form of self-expression. At the same time, platforms like HGTV and later Pinterest were democratizing design advice in a way that reached people who had no professional design background and wanted clear, actionable, low-commitment guidance. The accent wall was perfect for that moment. The advice was simple, the commitment was low, and the visual result was dramatic enough to feel like a genuine transformation. Paint one wall a deep color, keep the other three neutral, and the room suddenly has a focal point, a sense of depth, a visual interest that was not there before. For a generation of Americans figuring out how to make their spaces feel more designed, without overspending or overcommitting, it was genuinely useful guidance. Which is exactly why it spread as far and as fast as it did. But here is what nobody was saying clearly enough while that advice was spreading everywhere. The underlying logic of the accent wall was always a workaround rather than a design principle. The problem it was solving, rooms that felt flat or undefined, actually had a more complete solution that was being avoided because it felt more intimidating. And that more complete solution is exactly what the designers who influenced that advice were doing in their own work all along. They were not painting one wall, they were committing to color throughout. The accent wall was the simplified, reduced-risk version of a more sophisticated approach, and it worked well enough that it became the standard recommendation rather than the stepping stone it was always supposed to be. Fast forward to now, and something has shifted in a way that shows up clearly in the design content people are actually saving and sharing. According to data from Architectural Digest, Elle Decor, and major paint companies, including Sherwin-Williams and Benjamin Moore, the searches and saves and trend reports from the last 2 years consistently point toward the same transition. Full room color, sometimes called color drenching, sometimes called monochromatic immersion, sometimes just described as painting the whole room including the trim and ceiling in the same or closely related tones, is the approach that has replaced the accent wall in the rooms that are setting the visual conversation right now. And the shift is not subtle. The rooms that are stopping people mid-scroll in 2024 and 2025 are almost never the accent wall rooms. They are the rooms where color has been committed to completely, where the whole space is unified by a single chromatic decision rather than divided by it. Which brings us to the specific problem with the accent wall that designers have always been somewhat circumspect about explaining directly, probably because the advice was so popular that questioning it felt impolite. The fundamental visual logic of painting one wall a different color from the other three is a logic of interruption. You are creating a contrast, a break in the room's visual continuity, a moment where the eye stops and is directed to a specific surface. And in theory, that is good design, focal points are real and valuable. But in practice, the accent wall almost always creates a contrast that reads as a feature rather than a completion. The room looks like it has a highlight applied to it rather than like the color was always there. It signals the decision rather than transcending it. The very fact that one wall is different from the others announces that someone made a choice, which is different from a room that feels like the choice was inevitable, like the color and the space arrived at each other together. Professional designers call this the sense of intention, The quality of a room where every element feels like it belongs rather than like it was added. And the accent wall, for all its practical virtues, frequently undermines that quality rather than creating it. There is also a scale problem that becomes more visible once you know to look for it. In a room where 3 walls are a neutral and 1 wall is a deep, saturated color, the proportional relationship between those colors is almost always slightly awkward. The one bold wall tries to do the work that 4 walls committed to color would accomplish much more naturally. It can feel effortful in a way that full color commitment does not, because full color commitment does not have to try. The color is simply the room. There is no negotiation between the bold surface and the neutral surfaces. Everything is already in agreement. Here is the question worth sitting with at this point in the video. If full room color is more visually effective and is clearly where the design conversation is moving, why are people still so hesitant to try it? This is the part of the discussion that gets at something real about how Americans relate to color in their homes. And it is worth understanding because it explains exactly why the accent wall stayed popular for as long as it did, and why the move away from it requires a slightly different kind of confidence. The honest answer is that most Americans were taught, implicitly or explicitly, that more color means more risk. That a heavily colored room is harder to live with, harder to sell, more likely to feel overwhelming or date quickly. And the accent wall was the perfect hedge against that risk. You got some of the visual impact of color without fully committing to it. If you changed your mind, you only had to repaint 1 wall. If the bold choice turned out to be too much, 3/4 of the room was already safe. The accent wall was an insurance policy as much as it was a design decision. And insurance policies are appealing precisely when the risk being insured against feels real. But here is what the current design evidence actually shows about full room color. And this is the part that tends to genuinely surprise people who have been operating on the more color equals more risk assumption. Full room color is frequently less overwhelming than an accent wall, not more. When a room is enveloped in a single color, walls, trim, ceiling, all in the same or closely related tones, the visual system processes the space as a unified environment rather than as a set of competing surfaces. The brain settles rather than moving between a neutral zone and a bold zone. The color stops being a feature and starts being the atmosphere. And atmospheric color, paradoxically, tends to feel calmer and more livable than the accent wall approach, even when the color itself is deep and saturated. This is why rooms painted in rich dark greens or complex earthy terracottas or sophisticated mid-tone blues so often photograph and feel more serene than rooms with a single bold wall in the same colors. The envelopment resolves the visual tension that the contrast creates. Let us talk about what this actually looks like in practice, because practical application is where design trends either make sense or fall apart. The color drenching approach, which is the term Faro and Ball and other high-end paint companies have been using to describe the full room color application, works differently depending on the color you choose and how you apply it. The most sophisticated version uses the same color throughout but varies the finish. Matte on the walls, eggshell on the trim, satin on the ceiling. The subtle difference in reflectivity creates dimension without creating the visual break that different colors would introduce. The room has depth and movement without any surface announcing itself as separate from the others. This is genuinely harder to execute poorly than most people expect, because the unity of the color hides the kinds of minor imperfections that a high contrast transition between an accent wall and adjacent neutral walls tends to expose. Color blocking is the second approach that has emerged as an accent wall alternative in contemporary design content, and it is worth distinguishing from the accent wall because the logic is completely different. Color blocking uses 2 or more intentional colors applied in geometric or architectural sections, sometimes aligning with the room's built features, sometimes creating deliberate graphic shapes. The key difference from an accent wall is that color blocking involves a compositional decision about the entire room, rather than the application of a highlight to one surface. Both colors are chosen together, their relationship planned, and the distribution considered as a design decision that involves the full space. This is more complex to execute but produces rooms with a visual confidence and completeness that the accent wall approach cannot achieve. The third approach, which is the one that requires the least departure from familiar territory and is probably the most accessible starting point for people who have relied on accent walls, is what designers sometimes call the tone-on-tone room. In this approach, you choose one color family and use it across the entire room in different values. Lighter on the ceiling, mid-tone on the walls, slightly deeper on the trim or built-in elements. The room reads as unified and intentional rather than as neutral with a highlight. It has the visual coherence of full color commitment without the boldness of deep saturation. And it tends to photograph beautifully because the tonal variation creates depth, while the color unity creates calm. For anyone who has been using accent walls and wants to transition toward the approaches that are defining current design, this is the most natural first move. Now here's something worth addressing directly, because it will come up if you start moving toward these approaches and showing pictures of them to people who have not been following design trends as closely. There will be people who look at a color-drenched room and say it is too dark, too bold, too much. And that reaction is understandable because it comes from the same instinct that made the accent wall the dominant recommendation for so long. The risk aversion around color that most Americans were culturally trained into. What those people are responding to is usually not the color itself, but the unfamiliarity of seeing color applied this completely. Give them a few seconds with the room. The visual system adjusts. The envelopment that initially reads as overwhelming tends to resolve into atmosphere surprisingly quickly, and what initially felt like too much very often lands as exactly enough. This also connects to something that the best contemporary design content is saying more clearly than it used, to the idea that the rooms that feel most genuinely personal and most worth inhabiting are rooms where a commitment was made, where someone decided something and followed it through rather than hedging every choice with a safety net. The accent wall, for all its practical accessibility, was always fundamentally a hedged commitment. It was a way of having some of the impact of color while limiting the exposure, and there is nothing wrong with that. But the rooms that stop you on a scroll that stay with you after you close the app, that feel like someone genuinely lived a design decision all the way through. Those rooms are almost always built on commitments rather than hedges. The accent wall was not wrong. It was a genuinely useful tool for a specific moment in the democratization of design advice. And it made a real difference in the spaces of millions of Americans who would not otherwise have known where to start. But that moment has passed, and the conversation has moved. The rooms being created and celebrated and shared right now are rooms where color was given the whole space rather than a corner of it. Rooms where the designer, professional or otherwise, trusted the color enough to let it be the entire environment rather than a feature within an environment. Rooms that feel not designed but inhabited, which is always, in the end, the point. If you have an accent wall, it did exactly what it was supposed to do. And now you know what comes next?